This is Sybert signing into Kane's Wrath on the map Badlands Hills for game number 1 of this best of 9. Kicking it off as the yellow GDI. This is Bartjones. And his opponent, the one, the only, playing red, playing black hand. It's BikeRush. Bart gets his opportunity here today to show himself in this best of 9 versus Bike. We're kicking off with Black Hand versus GDI. A classic matchup for sure. And the last time we will see these two players play these factions. Welcome to Fearless Draft. Someone mentioned this as an idea, and at the same time, I was aware that over in League of Legends, they've been trying out Fearless Draft. I'm not sure if other games do this as well, but what this, we got ourselves a Flame Rush coming out from BikeRush. What this essentially means is that each faction can only be picked once. Once Black Hand has been played by BikeRush, that is it. No more Black Hand for BikeRush for the rest of this series. So you still get to choose your factions. You can still choose random, so you could roll the dice and potentially get Black Hand a second time that way. But as a general rule, the situation with Fearless Draft is that Pitbull goes down. The Flame Tanks have been spotted. Both of them have been seen by Bartjones. We'll see there might be a third Flame Tank out. The Operations Center is still here, so BikeRush is going for the multi-Flame Tank rush. This is something that can be dealt with, but it can also be a slippery slope, where as soon as one Flame Tank gets through, one of the 4 or 5 or 6 that end up getting produced, you find yourself absolutely devastated very, very quickly. First Flame Tank spotted in the south by this Predator tank. Down in health. Second Flame Tank near the MCV at the expansion. First Flame Tank going down. Next 2 Flame Tanks. Well, one is low on health. The other one is looking pretty good and will go for that Tib Spike. One Flame Tank has made it through the defenses, so the Tib Spike going down, the Refinery going down as well, and this is the danger of the multi-Flame Tank style. You stop 1, maybe you stop 2, but you don't get 3 or 4, and if you don't stay vigilant in those moments, then you can find yourself absolutely devastated. One Refinery down, War Factory low on health, and the Flame Tank is still around. This guy rolled into the base low on health, and he's still low on health, but he's still burning down these structures. One by one, the Refinery survives, but just barely, as the Flame Tank rolls into the natural expansion, gets eliminated, and the GG comes out. Fearless Draft has ended the GDI attempt of Bartjones. No more GDI for Bart, no more Black Hand for BikeRush. So that is the deal with this show match. Big, huge thanks to the players for participating, but also big thanks to Media Storm for sponsoring this show match as we jump into game number 2. And that sends us to Hampstead Gardens for game number 2. In the north, playing the yellow Marked of Kane, down 0-1, it's Bartjones. And in the south, playing the red, playing the Zocom. Give it up for BikeRush. All right, BikeRush busts out the Flame Tank rush, interrupts my monologue about Fearless Draft, and ends the game in just over 3.5 minutes. Hampstead Gardens, bit of a different layout, but no flame weapons. With this draft, with these two players choosing Marked of Kane and Zocom, we've got Tiberium weapons, we've got Sonic weapons, but we don't have flame weapons. And this is the version of Hampstead Gardens where the Tiberium spike has been moved from the far corner here to a little bit closer over by that expansion. So the Tib spike used to be down there. You had to come all the way over here, down the ramp, and then in. Extremely long distance, and that was modified here. So Slight change in this map. Other than that, I don't think anything else about the map has changed, so it is still the same Hampstead Gardens as before. Zocom as the choice for BikeRush. We will say it is a confident choice versus the Marked of Kane of his opponent. Marked of Kane definitely seen an uptick in the last couple of years in terms of preference by top-level players. It has been getting a lot of love by comparison to, you know, let's say 2008 to like 2018. That 10-year period, Marked of Kane got a lot less love than it has since 2018. Zocom also beefed up a bit. And of course, BikeRush, he's looking like he is in good form. EMP does land. It catches the Harvester as well as the Refinery. Very slight annoyance there. As always with these early EMPs, the annoyance is really the only factor here. That little slowdown on the Refinery and the Harvester is not going to be enough to just send BikeRush spiraling into the depths of despair. His income will be largely unaffected by it. Slightly up on income. About plus 500 bucks per minute for BikeRush. Very slight advantage for him. Now it's going to be an even bigger advantage. EMP does whiff. That Pitbull was supposed to move a little bit further away, according to Bartjones, and he did not. BikeRush is actually going to get a kill here. Nice EMP. All of those Pitbulls go down, but he has to sell off a couple of power plants to make it happen. The Pitbulls get EMP'd. The Harvester has not been pulled back for repairs, so he's still very close. Another EMP lands. Two more Pitbulls locked down, and it's going to be very close as to whether or not this Harvester will actually die. Finally, it does survive. The Pitbulls go down. BikeRush owns 7.4k per minute versus the 6.8k of Bartjones. That is lost mining time, but excellent defense by Bartjones in terms of not losing any Harvesters. Lots of wasted resources, selling off structures, having to build multiple power plants, multiple shredder turrets, delaying any real harvesting from happening from these 2 or 3 Harvesters, delaying the economy, forcing out faster Scorpion tanks. BikeRush owns 5 Harvesters on the expansion. Bartjones, 3 Harvesters on the expansion. That's the difference between that play early on between these two players. Maybe that economic advantage will be conquered by Bartjones, but right now he's down 1k per minute. So every minute that ticks by, BikeRush has got a bigger and bigger bank to work with. I think I covered everything with Fearless Draft. If you're not familiar with Fearless Draft, this is one of those tournament rules that I first saw in League of Legends. Again, I'm not sure if it's from other places as well. Someone also suggested it either over on Patreon or in the comments, and I was like, hey, that's a great idea. It's one of those rules that maybe not every show match, maybe not every tournament adopts Fearless Draft, but it is certainly a good rule to keep in the back pocket to mix things up, to force players out of their comfort zone, sort of like choosing different maps as well. A couple of Predator tanks versus these Scorpion tanks. Sometimes you can change up the way players approach the game just by altering the map pool. And Fearless Draft is kind of that same sort of thing. AP ammo almost done. BikeRush going a little bit on the aggressive. We'll see if he actually gets anything done here. SAM sites deployed immediately. Command post is done, but there is no airfield. This is a misread by Bartjones. He spotted that command post. He realizes that there is a threat of Zorgas, but in the current moment, there are no aircraft from BikeRush. This is something that Bartjones was expecting. He spent a little bit of cash getting that up and running. Clearly, it's something on his mind. He went multi-MCV, and he used that MCV to get out the SAM site immediately on the expansion. AP ammo has finished up, so these rockets and these Tib troopers are going to get gunned down pretty darn quickly. And there goes the Tib spike. It gets eliminated. Laser turret on the high ground. Bartjones has a lot of surface area he's trying to defend at once. His units and his resources are spread out. BikeRush doesn't have a super high damage output army, but he's got a lot of units, so you can't just knock down 1 or 2 big hitters and eliminate the threat. You've got so many units: rockets, riflemen, predator tanks, pit bulls, and AP ammo APCs all mixed in here. with more parade pushing across the map. And an obelisk is great, but it only shoots one thing at a time. Scorpion tanks getting a couple of kills as well. Tib troopers trying to help slow down this army. EMPs are landing, and they are helping hold the line, but BikeRush just has so much, and a fresh expansion behind this. Plus 17k per minute for BikeRush, and he clobbers that avatar, knocks it down, and keeps it out of this fight. His force is still moving forward. The tier 2 gone down. The tier 3, the next target for BikeRush. Multi-MCV doesn't matter if you can't pump out 2 obelisks at once. Bartjones with 6k in the bank, but without enough units on the field to stop this army from crushing through. Harvesters now under threat. A panic hand of Nod deployed onto the front line, and he's waiting for that Redeemer, but it just never happens. When you lose that tier 3, you lose all that progress on that Redeemer, and the hope of the Rage Gen has never materialized for Bartjones. Another Harvester targeted down the third base of Bartjones, never established. The GG comes in. It is one strong push from BikeRush that just never ended. He found the weak angle into the base. 1 minute later, Bartjones has pretty much all of the tools he needs in his arsenal to deal with that attack. The obelisks were late. The avatars were late. The bike buggy Scorpion was not in good enough numbers, and BikeRush rolls over Bart. And this pipeline isn't the only problem for Bartjones if he can't stop BikeRush from continuing to roll over him. But of course, this is game 3. This is a new matchup. It's Blackhand versus Reaper 17. Of course, we know that BikeRush already used his Blackhand choice in game number 1. So it is indeed playing the yellow, playing the Blackhand. This is Bartjones. Meanwhile, in the south, he's on Reaper 17. He is looking good. This is BikeRush. There's the crane. There's the refinery. Guess what? Guess what? Everyone loves themselves a good crane opener for the blue Tiberium on pipeline problems. First harvester half full, the equivalent of a full load of green Tiberium. But you do it in half the time. Use that to keep your economy rolling. Try and keep your bank account from zeroing out. BikeRush has skipped the Tib Spike, at least for now. Yeah, no engineer on the way. So he completely skipped the barracks, skipped the Tib Spike, went straight for the triple refinery. Got the 2 power plants as well. Meanwhile, Bartjones, he went for the earlier Tib Spike. It does slow down your refineries just a little bit. Not necessarily enough to make a world of difference. And in this case, it is actually War Factory before barracks. So this is a super duper delay on any kind of Tib Spike capture. And this could be entirely because BikeRush is expecting some kind of scouting squad, and he doesn't want his engineer to get sniped. So he's like, well, I get out harvesters faster if I go War Factory first, and I don't lose an engineer to a scouting squad heading across the map. Green Tiberium refineries are up and running. There's going to be the operations center for Bartjones. It is by no means a flame tank rush. It is by no means a flame rush of any kind, but we could be seeing ourselves with a couple of flame units heading out onto the field now that Bartjones has that tech up. Blue Tiberium, a little over half gone. BikeRush once again leading the scoreboard in terms of total resources gathered and in terms of income per minute. Not a big surprise with Scrin. They have a little bit faster harvesting when it ends up working out. And they also never have to pause for having too much cash, which I don't think has been a problem so far in this game, but in other moments it can have an impact. BikeRush adds the growth accelerator on, or the growth stimulator, because of course it is Reaper 17, so it doesn't give you that $15 every, I don't know, 10 seconds or 15 seconds or whatever it is. You do get that slow increase of cash, and of course it is a very low health target for Bartjones to aim for, so hopefully he's able to put a bit of pressure on BikeRush that way. Scorpion tanks moving out, and of course this is a little bit of a ships passing in the night situation. On the right side of the map, it's Bartjones attacking. On the left side of the map, it is BikeRush attacking. Shredder turret going to be able to shred those disintegrators. One Scorpion tank does end up going down, and BikeRush, he's actually scared of Bart enough that Bart pulls everything back. He does not commit to the attack on the other side of the map. No 6-7 flame tanks headed across to try and cause chaos and carnage on the BikeRush side of the map. Dozer blades have finished up. Tech Lab has a laser fence as well. Stasis chamber is here. Nerve center is here. Tib Spike eventually captured by BikeRush, but his economy has been so strong that it hasn't really mattered. Bartjones starting to catch up on that economy front with this third base, getting his what would be his natural expansion, but is effectively his third base up and running. Lightning Spike on the high ground. Absolutely adorable there by BikeRush. He will indeed get the spot on that, and we'll see if he's potentially wanting to use that vision offered by the Lightning Spike for one purpose or another. Eradicator Hexapod is out. 5 minutes into our third game, and we have our first epic unit of the series finally out on the map. Bartjones tried this in game number 2 on Hampstead Gardens, and it just didn't work. There we've got the stasis. That is what he wanted the vision for. BikeRush gets the Lightning Spike on the high ground. That gives him vision long enough to be able to stasis that chamber. And, well, BikeRush, he may have an epic unit, but Bartjones does not. Bartjones trying once again for a Redeemer, and Bike having that Eradicator Hexapod now delays his opponent's Redeemer by stasising that tier 3. Redeemer restarted, Eradicator Hexapod stomping its way around the map somewhere, and he's loaded it up with at least 2 disintegrators. MCV moves a little bit further forward. BikeRush falling slightly in the income per minute category, but he's happy that he's got this army already up and running. Hands of Nod gets sold off. There's going to be the phase on that Eradicator Hexapod just to soak up damage. A couple of Gunwalkers as well going for the crush on whatever gets by. Now, of course, this does buy more time for that Redeemer to step out onto the map, and maybe there will be an opportunity for something to happen to that Eradicator, but I think BikeRush is just going to teleport it back as soon as the phase is done. Engineers are here, and it's going to be charged up. Reaper tripods going toe-to-toe with Scorpion tanks. It's not even really a fair fight for these Scorpion tanks. Harvesters are also here. Obelisk is here, and the Engineers ready to go onto the front line. Triple portal as well. BikeRush has got 5K in the bank, and he is ready to spend every dollar of it. Moving forward, the Eradicator Hexapod does not get teleported back to safety because it's pretty darn safe even on the front line as BikeRush collapses on the expansion of Bartjones and completely shuts it down. The Redeemer steps on out, and he's going to be able to pop off a Rage Gen, but how much will that actually affect these units who have already been given their attack commands? Moving forward, Redeemer is unable to close the distance on the Eradicator Hexapod. He maybe gets a couple of shots off there, but it's not quite enough. Even a dev tank around the left side going toe-to-toe with that Obelisk, but not able to really do anything. And BikeRush sounds the full retreat. He shuts down the expansion, he kills almost the entire army, and then he pulls back at the last second there. He did not want to fight it out with the Eradicator Hexapod. And I'm not actually sure where his mastermind or prodigy is. Prodigy somewhere on the map, I would assume, from BikeRush. But BikeRush not able to break Bartjones in the first wave of this attack. Beam Cannon shows up, maybe a little bit too far forward. Eradicator Hexapod back up to 3/4 health. Ready to go. And the MCV moving a little bit further forward. More Raider buggies are here. Bartjones fighting tooth and nail for this game number 3 as another Rage Gen fires off, but it doesn't really affect anything in the Eradicator Hexapod. Now back to full health. BikeRush, he's got this expansion. He's got an MCV to kind of guard from the front line. Eradicator Hexpod steps forward. Rage Gen has already been used, so now that these tripods are in range, they are free to fire on whatever they wish. Redeemer down to about half HP, and the Eradicator Hexpod down there as well. EMP Raider Buggy's going to be coming in. They haven't popped the EMP yet. They finally get it, and the Redeemer stands alone. Only an obelisk to his side to keep him in this fight. The tripods unmatched on the Bartjones side of the map. 2 more Hands of Nod directly onto the front line, and the Eradicator, maybe it'll fall, but the rest of the army remains untouched for BikeRush. He pushes forward, and the MCV under threat. Nothing left from Bartjones to be able to salvage this situation. FaZe comes in on the Eradicator just to guarantee the safety. And maybe if there was a backdoor backstab by Bartjones, a couple of flame tanks in the back line burning down the base, there might be a hope for a turnaround. But not when your front line collapses, not when BikeRush basically never lost his avatars, his tripods, and the tech just wasn't able to match from Bartjones in game number 3. And game 4 sends us to Tournament Dustbowl. Of course, the no poker variant of it. In the north, playing the Steel Talons. Bold choice indeed. This is Bartjones. Meanwhile, up 3-0 in this best of 9, playing the Marked of Kane. Give it up for BikeRush. Bike bringing the games short and long. Going for the late game plays, going for the early game plays, going for the mid-game push. And Bartjones isn't able to handle any of it today. But Steel Talons versus Marked of Kane, it is certainly a different kind of a matchup, and one where you would traditionally give the advantage of the matchup to the Marked of Kane player. But sometimes people choose a faction because they have something specific in mind. So Bartjones is run through a couple of powerful factions. He's played Marked of Kane, Black Hand, he's played GDI, and now he chooses Steel Talons. Doesn't decide to go Reaper or Traveler or Skrin. None of those options. Instead, Steel Talons. And I mean, he could have also just played Vanilla Nod as well, but he does go for the Steel Talons. EMP lands on that War Factory. Barely survives the Awakened Squad with just 0 HP. Just about 0.1 HP. Survives, manages to get the kill on the Rifleman. Maybe will live long enough to get a reset on his EMP. I would think not. Okay, yeah, there's the sell-off of the Watchtower. Gets the kill. Scout comes in for Bartjones. He will have an idea of what BikeRush is up to in the south. And of course, with BikeRush playing Marked of Kane, there's no flame units to worry about. With Bartjones playing Steel Talons, there's also no flame units to worry about. But there are MRTs to worry about. The classic couple of APCs with some rocket troopers inside of them. Build a lot of GDI, Steel Talons, Zocom players do love going for. We'll see if it's able to get anything accomplished today. We saw it do a little bit of damage with BikeRush, but of course that was more of a mid-game push with Predator tanks and infantry packed along as well. Meanwhile, a couple of MRTs, they can have really good survivability. Under the right hands, they can do a lot of annoying, even if they don't do a lot of killing. First EMP does whiff. The Pitbull backed up instead of driving forward. APC's getting a couple of shots off here. Stealth reveal on these harvesters. EMP's hoping to land for BikeRush so that he can get the guaranteed kills on these units. Pitbull goes forward, everyone else goes back, and the Pitbull pays the price for it. 3 MRTs, 2 Pitbulls was the original battle plan. That has now been reduced, but behind the scenes, it is an operations center for BikeRush, and it is a second refinery at the natural expansion for Bartjones. EMP lands, but of course it's the Rifleman inside that's still doing the damage. Rocket's going to be able to get a little bit of damage done there, but the repair will come through for the MRT. EMP whiffs once again BikeRush owns, assuming the units are going to go forward, they end up going back, and he has missed those EMPs so far. Airfield gets deployed by Bartjones, calling in some reinforcements as well. Maybe he's hoping to keep this attack moving forward. Scorpion tanks getting dangerously close to driving into those minefields, but managing to avoid it each time. BikeRush owns behind in economy for the first time in this series. He is trailing. He's catching up, though. The faster refineries on the natural expansion for Bartjones going to be giving him a little bit of an edge there, but not a big one, as BikeRush owns is looking to clean that difference up with a catalyst missile on the other side of the map. The scouting buggy comes in, gets the spot on that refinery, calls in the support power, and gets the insta-kill right as the Tier 3 gets deployed as well. So BikeRush owns sees the timing of the Tier 3, gets pretty much the perfect scout on the natural expansion, and he may have also spotted the Hammerhead coming in as well, so he knows about the Hammerheads. As the stealth tanks are out, Tib getting dropped in the middle of what should have been this army. Stealth tanks pop in. They get a couple of volleys off. Tib core missiles have finished up. EMP lands, locks down one of the MRTs. Wolverine steps up to the front line, and it's going to be hit and run for these stealth tanks, trying to pop as many of these targets with a single volley as they can. Hammerhead gets eliminated. Pitbull's hoping to trade back and forth with these stealth tanks, but guess which one fires more rockets? It's not the Pitbulls. It's not the units that don't have the green missiles of death. BikeRush owns hit and run stealth tanks, cleaning up 2 or 3 units for free there, being able to pull back, thin the herd, cut down the numbers, and maybe one of them will finally pay the price, but no! It actually does go down right at the end there. 2, 3 Pitbulls going down, trading it for one of those stealth tanks. And BikeRush owns, he may have a heroic rifleman to contend with, but he doesn't have to deal with that Wolverine that he just blasted into next week. Additional refinery gets deployed, kind of an awkward spot there, will result in maybe slightly longer run times for those harvesters, but Bartjones' economy is still standing strong. Unfortunately, his economy is also just sitting in his pocket. He's got 9-10 grand in the bank, and for some reason, he's just not spending it. His unit production may be a little bit lacking as he picks off a couple of stealth tanks there. Avatar steps out onto the front line, pushes away this force. Railguns perhaps on the way. We've seen a couple of Titans out on the map. Stealth tank manages to pick off a harvester in the back line. Bartjones getting his third base up and running, but now he's going to have to defend that location as well. And he does need to keep an eye on BikeRush owns to see if Bike is getting a refinery to match. We did hear the cue for the Redeemer, who is now out on the field. He's got that Tib weapon to slow things down. And Mammoth tanks now here. Railguns must be very close to being done. AP ammo has already finished up. And Bartjones, he's getting those late game upgrades. He's getting those late game units. And he's also worried about aircraft. So he deploys another AA battery. Once again, Bartjones preempting the aircraft of BikeRush owns, but not quite nailing it as a Rage Gen fires off on the other side of the map. Mammoth tanks going to be targeting each other, and this Redeemer getting some free shots. The Wolverine not here. The Titan, on the other hand, going to be landing some shots as the EMP locks down those 2 Mammoth tanks, and this Redeemer holding his own versus the attacking forces of Bartjones. BikeRush owns gets pushed away from the third base. Both players performing the dance steps against each other. Avatars backing up. BikeRush owns and Bart have both completely hoovered up their main bases. Bart has finally spent his bank, and he's down at $0. He's finally cleaned out his bank account and spent it all on units and upgrades. Who knew those mine drops would be coming back into play as Bartjones taps out. He doesn't give us the climactic final battle. He just says, you know what, I think I'm gonna lose, and so he leaves. His economy neck and neck with BikeRush owns, even to the end, slightly ahead. but no confidence to fight it out. And given how the series has been going, I can understand that, but still would have been nice to see that last battle as we head into game number 5. Welcome to game 5 and Tiberium Rift, or Twisted Rift, if you will. Spawning in the north plane, the yellow plane, the Zocom. This is Bartjones. And meanwhile, in the south, playing the red, playing the Nod. Just plain old vanilla Nod. It's BikeRush. Bartjones and BikeRush have gone toe-to-toe. But the scoreline is very one-sided. BikeRush on the precipice of a reverse sweep or a clean sweep. Bartjones has no chances left to give. Needs to start putting some points on the board if he wants to win this show match. And he's chosen Zocom to do it. He's burned through a lot of his strong factions. Zocom still can be very effective, as we have seen many times in the past. But if you get to the late game, a lot of players miss the Juggernauts so much that they just sort of give up. If you're not able to use the aircraft as your artillery or thwart your opponent early, then you can have a lot of problems. BikeRush, on the other hand, he is comfortable with the early game, the mid game, and the late game of Nod. Some players do have trouble with Nod in various stages, but BikeRush is very comfortable with all of them. Rifleman will get the scouting squad for the scouting off for Bartjones. They are a scouting squad, I guess you could say. And they're going to start poking and prodding at that power plant. BikeRush happy to let his MCB get spotted. Planted for quite some time, deploys a second war factory at his main base. I believe this is outside of the vision of Bartjones' riflemen, but he probably will be seeing the units as they deploy out of there and head across the map. So Bartjones knows, uh-oh, I have a lot of space to defend. He's got something queued. He sends his harvester back home. Is he going to cancel a refinery? No, he does keep the refinery. So he now knows that there is a lot of aggression headed his way. He steals a bit of blue Tiberium from the middle of the map. The pit bulls are going to be covering the retreat of that harvester as BikeRush cleans up 3 pit bulls in the middle of the map. Bartjones' defense is going to be that much harder, missing those pit bulls. Second war factory not up yet. He had to go power plant instead, and he's out of cash. So that war factory is super late, and he doesn't even have the cash on hand to build anything out of it immediately. BikeRush, on the other hand, now has his third refinery up and running, his first ref at his natural expansion. He's got that up and running. War factory finally is here for Bartjones. Bikes swinging back up to the north. Harvester auto harvesting back to the blue Tiberium. And Bartjones gets caught. He escaped with the first wave of blue Tiberium, but he gets caught not directing his harvester. And the bikes get the kill in the middle of the map for BikeRush. The second war factory ended up not actually being a big wave of attacks. Got himself out a decent number of bikes and buggies, but after that, BikeRush has just transitioned into regular 2-base economy. He's got himself 4 harvesters at the natural expansion. He is ready to go, but he did not do much to hamper the economy of Bartjones, who is a little bit ahead, 1K per minute over his opponent. And now doing triple war factory Zocom production. Not something we see very often, the triple war factory from Zocom. But when you've got 11 or 12K per minute, when you've got that healthy economy, you got to spend the money somewhere. And most players do tend to spend it on the tech rather than the triple war factory production. But Bartjones, he's tried a number of things in these games without success, so he's trying something new here. BikeRush getting that nod, also getting scanned by Bartjones. So will we have the multi-MCV life that we see from so many nod players? Not yet. The tier 2 is here. The tier 3 about to be dropped down. Okay, yes, there it is. Goes for the tier 3, and he could have another MCV lined up here. But instead, he's been going bike, buggy, perhaps some late game upgrades, as I assume Tib Core Missiles has started now for BikeRush. And this pure Pitbull, we'll see if it actually ends up working out. Both of the war factories at the natural expansion have now been sold off, and this is a decoy army. Going to absorb perhaps a couple of shots here, although I think that might have been the decoys actually just expiring. So it's going to be this Hand of Nod producing rocket squads to help defend against this attack that Bartjones is going on. This is so many pit bulls for Bartjones swarming over the base of BikeRush, but for now they're just trading out with units. Operations Center is gone. Harvesters finally being targeted. An additional Hand of Nod gets deployed. One harvester goes down, a second gets clobbered, and a third absorbs a lot of shots but still rolls away from the fight. So many pit bulls going down. 10 grand worth of pit bulls perhaps traded out, and the harvester still survives. One more rocket would be enough, but he doesn't get it. 2 harvesters go down, 2 escape with barely any HP, and it's going to be almost the same number of pit bulls escaping as harvesters. With all the cash that Bartjones has spent on that pit bull army, he just didn't get a lot for it. Hammerheads showing up, but this is 3 hammerheads. The operations center going down earlier could delay the... doesn't delay anything because the hammerheads are running away. The stealth tank pops on out, and the hammerhead's going to be leaving with those pit bulls. Bartjones's game plan collapsing out from under him. His economy is still strong as he adds on his 3rd base right now. He's got himself a couple of blue Tiberium harvesters going for that middle map blue Tiberium, but not coming away with much at all. BikeRush going to be pushing across the map. He's down 10 grand in total resources gathered, but so much of that 10 grand was wasted in that pitbull attack that accomplished very little. Avatars making up the bulk of Bike's army. He's not concerned with keeping those bike buggy units around that he lost so many of earlier in this game. Rocket squads, pit bulls, and hammerheads here for Bartjones. He is out of cash. Flames stepping forward. They get instantly clobbered by those hammerheads. Double barracks on the front line, but he doesn't actually have enough cash to produce from both consistently. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, a couple of pit bulls sneaking into the back line. Bartjones finally finding those kills that he was looking for earlier, finding the damage to BikeRush's economy that he was hoping to do minutes ago in this game. More pit bulls roaming through the middle of the map. They miss the opportunity to jump on that MCV. Meanwhile, avatars and rockets just waiting outside of Bartjones' 3rd base. Not really finding anything to do just yet. They're going to be moving in on the Bartjones base right now as they continue fighting at the expansion of BikeRush. Rockets v rockets, avatars mixed in as well as Bartjones needs to hold the line here to keep his economy alive for the next couple of minutes. Reinforcements coming in, the AP ammo being clutch as the avatars stomp all over those rocket squads. Tip field suits come in. The harvesters have fallen. Only one remains low on health inside of that refinery. And BikeRush says, this is my base now. Shredder turrets and a Hand of Nod get added on. And the punch of those stealth tanks is unmatched on the Bartjones side of the map. The Harvester's still surviving, but it's only infantry on the front line for Bartjones. As long as BikeRush can deal with the infantry, he can deal with this army. Stealth tanks come forward, pop a couple of APCs. One goes down, a second gets clobbered, and this APC on the front line, this APC army is thinning out. Reinforcements coming in. BikeRush He's being threatened, but here on the front line, it is do or die for both players. Pitbulls swarming in from behind. They catch one of the avatars. They get the kill on the Husk, and they're trading out against the stealth tanks as well. Bartjones' reinforcements coming in clutch at the last possible second for him. Both players down to almost nothing as BikeRush stealth tanks come forward, get another kill. They continue to go almost unopposed by Bartjones here in game number 5. Another harvester down, another stealth tank escaping with just a little bit of HP. Shredder turrets on the front line, useless as the infantry have all been cleaned up, and Bartjones coming so close to denying BikeRush this base. The stealth tanks still haven't been dealt with as Bartjones loses another APC to the firepower. The rocket squads unable to jump inside of those APCs, and the numbers are so low on both sides of this fight. BikeRush, he's got the cushion, he's got the pad though, the space to give a loss here or there as Bartjones is fighting for his life in this show match. Another Pitbull showing up. Bartjones might just have to sacrifice these bases. He could sell off some of these structures to try and hold the line on this third base. 2 more APCs going down. BikeRush swarming the front line, and the GG comes out as Bartjones comes within an inch of victory but is forced to tap out. BikeRush finishes the show match with a clean 5-0 scoreline, and Bartjones absolutely dominating on the economy front. Made a misstep with the Pitbulls and then brought it back in the late game, but never enough to actually kill BikeRush. He got extremely close there to shutting BikeRush down, but it would have just been one game in a best of 9. The comeback that could have been never materialized, and that will do it. Big thanks to MediaStorm for sponsoring this show match, as well as many other show matches throughout the years. Huge thanks to Bartjones and BikeRush for participating. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and this is Sybert signing out.